If you've ever found yourself thinking, I'd love to be a follower of Jesus, but I'm just not sure about the Christian thing, stick with us for the next few weeks, because we're going to explore something which I think the Lord is calling us to, and we're going to explore it together and try and grow in it together. If you're tracking with us, we're reading through the Bible each day, using this little book as a gang to help us get to know Jesus better, to help us understand the ways of God better, to be able to filter out all the white noise. And this month we've got a theme that we're going to explore together for a little bit, and the theme is this, the big idea is this, that the best way is not always the most obvious or the most popular way. Did you know that years and years and years ago, before Jesus people were called Christians, they were called people of the way? And the reason they were called people of the way, followers of the way, was twofold. One, because Jesus had said of himself, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. And he talks about himself as being the way to the Father. He sets his life down, if you like, as a model for us to follow. That's reason number one. Reason number two is another time Jesus says this, that wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, but small is the gate and narrow is the road that leads to life. Go down that road. Few people find it, but enter through that gate. In other words, a pastor called Craig Rochelle in America says this, that the wide road is the typical, is the norm, is the obvious, is the thing that everybody does. It's the ordinary way to get through life. You travel down this road, you're with millions of other people. Nobody bats an eyelid because this is the normal thing to do. It's the easy and obvious thing that your culture, your society, your subgroup, your family, whatever, you do that thing. When you're on that road, you don't feel abnormal, you don't feel out of place, you don't feel like you're swimming against the tide or upstream in any way. You feel like you're doing the ordinary thing. Those who find the narrow road feel a little bit abnormal. Those who find the narrow road feel a little bit on their own, a little bit isolated. They sometimes glance over at that road going, I wonder if I've chosen the wrong road, because those guys, there seems to be a lot of them, and sometimes it feels like it's just me. Notice what Jesus doesn't say. He doesn't say that this narrow road is full of potholes or danger, or that there's burglars waiting to jump out from behind a hedge at you. He doesn't say it's more difficult. It might be, but he doesn't talk about that. He just says it's less obvious. Everybody's going to do this. I wonder if Jesus' followers could do this.
We set up a hidden camera experiment to see if this woman would stand up at the sound of this tone, simply because everyone else is. Did you hear that? These people sure did. It doesn't take long for our test subject to notice a pattern. Beep means stand up. But why? And if you were in her shoes, what would you do the next time the tone sounds? After just 3 beeps, and without knowing why she's doing it, this woman is now conforming perfectly to the group. But what happens if we take the group away?
Elaine, please.
Okay, now she's alone. The crowd is gone and nobody is watching her, except our hidden cameras. What do you think she'll do?
This is what I think the Lord is calling us to, St. Mark's, to be a gang of people who are typified by, described by, defined by Jesus, and who are people of the way. Because I think church is too small. I think Christianity is too small. Some of us have difficulty with the term Christian. If you've ever told people in your family or your workplace maybe, or your school, that you're a Christian, and you know the kind of responses that you get next time you accidentally, I don't know, swear or say something that they don't like, or say that you're going to vote for a different party. You get the, oh, that's not very Christian, and you feel like you're being watched the whole time. Or maybe you think, I want to hang out with a lot of Jesus stuff, but if I say I'm a Christian, then Donald Trump also says he's a Christian, and I don't want to be associated with that guy or the pro-life guys or whatever. And you think, this term is so baggage, just so weighed down for me right now. And yet Jesus has this way of being which is completely different, which is bigger than church and Christianity, which is not boxed in any way, which is defined by outrageous and extravagant grace and mercy and goodness and love and joy and humility and compassion and generosity. It's defined by banquets, not borders. It's defined by welcome, not slammed doors. Part of my journey over the last couple of months has been to spend time with the persecuted church, and we're going to do that together over the next few weeks as we discover what it is to be a gang of people who don't have any of the stuff, who don't have a large bank account, who don't have assets, but we've chosen to pursue a passionate faith in Jesus that sees miracles, that sees breakthrough, that sees incredible things happen, that grows a faith that is able to sustain the hardest of times. You might have seen a couple of weekends ago, right in between Manchester and London, there was a couple of guys in the middle of Egypt who broke onto a bus that was full of Christians. And they said, "Are you guys Christians?" They said, "Yes." They said, "Well, we're going to give you a couple of seconds to renounce your faith and convert to Islam. If you do that, we'll spare you. If you don't, we'll shoot you." The people didn't convert. They said, "Jesus is our Lord," and they all got massacred. I have a faith which honestly struggles to tell the guy who cuts my hair that I'm a Christian because it feels so weighed down. I want a faith that would stare down a guy with a gun, that could walk into any workplace and be joy-filled and extravagant. I want to be part of a gang which is defined by Jesus, that people look from inside and outside and go, "Oh wow, I want some of that." The normal way, the obvious way, might be the way that everybody goes on, but says Jesus, sometimes it leads to death. For instance, have you ever met, or maybe you've been, somebody who's gone to Uganda or Kenya or somewhere like that, and they'll come back and they'll say this thing which I've heard so many times it's cliched, but it's not cliched because it's true. They'll say something like, "I sat in a hut with these people who had nothing, and they didn't have an oven to cook on, they had an open fire and one pot and a couple of cups, and yet these people had more gratitude in their hearts than I do. They had more joy in their soul than I do. They were more generous than I am." Have you ever met somebody who said that? What you've just encountered when you've had that experience in your life is you were on the wide road, where we think, us in the West think that if I can just get enough stuff, accumulate enough stuff, get my degree, get my job, get the right pay grade, get the right car, the right house, everything lined up in a row, then I'll find satisfaction and joy and happiness. But maybe there's a different way. Maybe joy and satisfaction and happiness doesn't lie in those things. Even though that's what everybody chases, maybe you find it in a different place. Maybe outrageous generosity is actually the key to joy. Who knows? We're going to discover together over the next few weeks what it is to be people of the way. We're going to try and figure out what would it look like to grow a small little community that is typified by, defined by, described by Jesus and his ways and his character, not Christianity, not the things that weigh us down. We're going to blow apart some of the boundaries that we've put around ourselves and decide what it is to be people of the way. I need you around. I need you to help us on this. If you've got a thing in your head where you go, "Oh, that part of being a Christian always weighs me down," and we need to jettison it. Or if you've got a thing in your heart that goes, "Oh, I read this thing that Jesus said once, and if we could live like that, then maybe that would be so attractive. Maybe that would be world changing. Maybe that would be releasing. Maybe that would be life giving and life affirming. Maybe that would be the thing that set my soul free." Throw those things into the conversation pot with us. Help us get better at being people of the way. I think there's two things that we need initially to be people of the way. The first is Jesus. The second is courage. Because as much as I want to have the boldness to go down the narrow road and to be creative and to be courageous, I don't have it right now. So I need courage. We're going to look together next week at courage. We've got church everywhere and houses across the city. Let me know if you're around and I'll tell you where your nearest location is. We're going to join together over the internet and do some stuff in homes as well. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to look at courage and how scared we feel, how we get courage, all of that. But here's something about Jesus. It's written by a guy called Pete Greig. It's called The Vision, and it started off a movement called 24/7 prayer. Watch this vision and allow the Spirit to speak to you, to excite you, and to motivate you to become a person who doesn't just do what everybody else does because everybody else is doing it, but a person who follows Jesus, who is the way.
So this guy comes up to me and says, "What's the vision? What's the big idea?" I open my mouth and words come out like this. The vision. The vision is Jesus. Obsessively, dangerously, undeniably Jesus. The vision is an army of young people. You see bones, I see an army. And they are free from materialism. They laugh at 9 to 5 little prisons. They could eat caviar on Monday and crust on Tuesday. They wouldn't even notice. They are mobile like the wind. They belong to the nations. They need no passport. People write their addresses in pencil and wonder at their strange existence. They are free, yet they are slaves of the hurting and dirty and dying. What's the vision? The vision is holiness that hurts the eyes. It makes children laugh and adults angry. It gave up the game of minimum integrity long ago to reach for the stars. It scorns the good and strains for the best. It is dangerously pure. Light flickers from every secret motive, every private conversation. It loves people away from their suicide leaps, their Satan games. This is an army that will lay down its life for the cause 1,000,000 times a day. Its soldiers choose to lose that they might one day win the great well done of faithful sons and daughters. Such heroes are as radical on Monday morning as Sunday night. They do not need fame from names. Instead they grin quietly upwards and hear the crowds chanting again and again, "Come on!" And this is the sound of the underground, the whisper of history in the making. Foundations shaking, revolutionaries dreaming once again. Mystery is scheming in whispers, conspiracy is breathing. This is the sound of the underground, and the army is disciplined. Young people who beat their bodies into submission. Every soldier would take a bullet for his comrade at arms. The tattoo on their back boasts, "For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." Sacrifice fuels the fire of victory in their upward eyes. Winners, martyrs, who can stop them? Can hormones hold them back? Can failure succeed? Can fear scare them, or death kill them? And the generation prays like a dying man, with groans beyond talking, with warrior cries, sulfuric tears, and with great barrow loads of laughter, waiting, watching 24/7, 365. Whatever it takes, they will give, breaking the rules, shaking mediocrity from its cozy little hide, laying down their rights and their precious little wrongs, laughing at labels, fasting essentials. The advertisers cannot mold them, Hollywood cannot hold them. Peer pressure is powerless to shake their resolve at late night parties before cockerel cries. They are incredibly cool, dangerously attractive inside, and on the outside, they hardly care. They wear clothes like costumes to communicate and celebrate, but never to hide. Would they surrender their image or their popularity? They would lay down their very lives, swap seats with the man on death row, guilty as hell, a throne from an electric chair. share with blood and sweat and many tears, with sleepless nights and fruitless days. They pray as if it all depends on God and live as if it all depends on them. Their DNA chooses Jesus. He breathes out and they breathe in. Their subconscious sings they had a blood transfusion with Jesus. Their words make demons scream in shopping centers. Don't you hear them coming? Herald the widows, summon the losers and the freaks. Here comes the frightened and the forgotten. With fire in their eyes they walk tall and trees applaud. Skyscrapers bow, mountains are dwarfed by these children of another dimension. Their prayers summon the hounds of heaven and invoke the ancient dream of Eden. And this vision will be, it will come to pass. It will come easily and it will come soon. How do I know? Because this is the longing of creation itself, the groaning of the spirit, the very dream of God. My tomorrow is His today. My distant hope is His 3D, and my feeble whispered faithless prayer invokes a thunderous, resounding, bone-shaking, great Amen. From countless angels, from heroes of the faith, from Christ Himself, and He is the original dreamer, the ultimate winner, guaranteed.